All right, so today we're taking a deep dive into something pretty foundational.
Mm.
The basis of union.
Oh,
Sort
yeah.
of the uniting church in Australia.
That's right.
Um, and this document is, well, I guess you could think of it as...
Kind of their DNA.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
their foundational charter.
And what's really cool is this isn't just some, historical relic.
Oh, no.
This thing's like a living, breathing document.
Yeah, it really...
It shapes how they do church today.
Absolutely. Like, if you look at their website,
All right.
the way they've even organized the online version of this,
Yeah.
it's all structured around the basis of union.
So we're really getting into, like, the nuts and bolts
Core.
of how a whole denomination functions.
Yeah.
So listeners, buckle up.
Okay,
It's going to be a fascinating ride.
Right from the start, it's clear they're big on unity.
Okay, so right off the bat,
Yeah, like they're not just saying,
we're merging and that's it.
yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
No, it's like this ongoing thing.
Mhm.
A gift from Christ, they say. Oh, interesting.
And it's not just about, like, being unified within their own denomination.
Right.
They're also really passionate about what they call ecumenism.
Oh, working with other churches.
Exactly, both here in Australia.
Yeah.
And they actually specifically call out the Asia-Pacific region.
Wow. So they're thinking globally, even back then.
Oh, absolutely.
It's kind of amazing to see that kind of forward thinking.
Yeah, they're all about building bridges, you know.
Okay, so unity is huge.
Huge.
But let's get into some, like, the theological nitty-gritty.
Okay, yeah.
What are the core beliefs that this whole thing is built on?
Well, a big chunk of this document is dedicated to spelling out Christian beliefs,
Like a foundation.
with, of course, Jesus Christ as the cornerstone.
Okay, so that's their bedrock.
Absolutely.
And there's this one line that really stood out to me.
Oh, yeah.
They quote 2 Corinthians 5.19,
Okay.
which says, let me get it right. God was reconciling the world to himself
Through Jesus, yeah.
through Jesus.
That's the key. What does that even mean, though?
Like, practically, for the church, what are they supposed to do?
Right, right.
Well, it's all about healing, isn't it?
Okay.
Bridging divides,
Mm-hmm.
working towards a more just world.
So it's not just about, like, internal church stuff.
No.
It's about how you engage with the world out there.
Exactly.
That's pretty powerful.
If you're truly following Jesus, they're saying you can't just sit in a pew
Right.
and ignore all the problems around you.
Okay, so that's like the action part of their faith.
That's the putting it into practice.
And then they get into some of the, I guess you could say, more traditional elements.
Oh, yeah, like...
The Bible, sacraments, even those ancient creeds.
Mhm.
Some folks might say that's getting a little bogged down in the past.
You could see that?
But the way they talk about it, it's not like that at all.
No, not at all. They're not about blind adherence,
Right.
to tradition, to just doing things, because that's how they've always been done.
Yeah.
They see the Bible as this living word.
Something that's still speaking to them today that guides their preaching
Yeah.
and how they practice the sacrament.
Like baptism and communion.
Exactly.
So it's all very active, it's living.
Yeah.
They even talk about, learning from figures like John Wesley.
Oh, yeah.
Documents like the Scots Confession. It's like they're trying to strike a balance
Yeah.
between honoring their roots,
Mm-hmm.
but also staying relevant.
Absolutely. They're rooted in Protestant tradition.
Yeah.
But very open to ongoing learning, reinterpretation.
That's really interesting.
They even say, engage with contemporary thought.
Wow. So they're not afraid to ask tough questions
No, not at all.
and sort of evolve as they go.
It's about understanding the context of these historical figures
Yeah.
and documents, but also applying their wisdom
To the present.
to the here and now.
Yeah. I like that.
And that open-mindedness carries over to how they think about membership, too.
Okay. So tell me about that. They're really inclusive.
Mhm.
Anyone who's been baptized is welcome.
Wow.
They even suggest, maybe we need to rethink how we do confirmation with other Christian groups,
So they're open to dialogue
Oh, absolutely.
and collaboration.
That's a core part of who they are.
And one thing that really struck me was their clear support
Yes.
for both men and women in ministry.
Oh, absolutely. That's explicitly stated.
That's pretty forward-thinking, especially for, a document written back then.
Right. They're saying God calls people to serve regardless of gender.
For it's about recognizing everyone's gifts.
Yes, acknowledging the talents that everyone brings to the table.
I love that. It's really refreshing.
Yeah.
But they also get into the nuts and bolts, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like the actual structure of how the uniting church is organized.
Right. They lay out their governance.
And it's pretty detailed.
It is.
Like I was surprised by how much they go into.
But it's not about being rigid, you know? They have councils at local, regional, and national levels.
Yeah, I saw that.
But they emphasize the interconnectedness of the church.
So each council has its own responsibilities,
Yeah.
but they're all supposed to work together.
That's the idea.
It's more like a network
Mm-hmm.
than a pyramid, you know?
Exactly. And they also acknowledge, right in the document, that the church is a human institution.
Right, so it's not perfect.
And therefore it's imperfect. It needs to keep evolving.
Wow, that's a pretty humble stance.
It is, isn't it?
Most organizations want to project this image
Oh,
of
yeah.
having it all figured out.
Like they're infallible.
Yeah.
But the Uniting Church is saying, no, we're learning.
We're on a journey.
We're growing.
And you can really see that
Yeah.
in their closing prayer.
Oh, yeah.
It focuses on, like, unity, correction, and service.
Oh, those themes we've been talking about.
It really encapsulates the whole spirit of the basis of union.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's amazing how much they pack into this one document.
It really is.
But we've only just scratched the surface.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much more to explore.
We've got to see how all of this translates into action.
Right, like what does this actually look like in practice?
That's the exciting part.
All right, listeners,
Get ready.
because we're about to dive even deeper.
Into how the Uniting Church lives out this vision.
It's going to be fascinating.
Stay tuned.
We'll be back in a flash.
So, one thing that really struck me about this document
Oh, yeah?
is how it doesn't just talk about like the the beliefs, the structure,
Yeah.
but it gets into the how.
The practical side of things.
Exactly, like how things should actually function.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give me an example.
Like, take the role of ministers.
Yep. Yeah.
It outlines their responsibilities,
Preaching, sacraments, that kind of thing.
yeah, providing pastoral care.
Right.
But it doesn't just leave it at that.
So it's not just a one-person show.
No, it really emphasizes the importance of elders,
Okay.
leaders, working alongside the minister.
Sharing the responsibility.
Exactly, and it's not even just about them.
It's about the whole community, right?
Absolutely. They're really big on utilizing everyone's gifts.
That's cool.
Not just those in official leadership positions.
Empowering everyone.
Yeah, giving everyone a chance to contribute.
What about deaconesses?
Oh, yeah.
I remember reading something about that.
They acknowledge the vital role they've played
Mhm.
historically and say they believe women will continue to be
To serve in that way.
right.
But it even hinted at, like,
A renewed understanding of the diaconate.
yeah, maybe even opening it up to men in the future.
Potentially, yeah. It's like they're saying
Right.
we value tradition,
Yeah.
but we're also open to how those traditions might evolve.
It's that balance again.
Exactly.
And I noticed they do the same thing
Where?
when it comes to church governance,
Oh, yeah.
like how decisions are made, who has authority.
They really stress that interconnectedness,
Yeah, it's all about councils.
right? Operating at different levels.
Congregational, district, even national.
And each council has its own set of responsibilities.
Yeah.
But they're all supposed to work together.
It's like a checks and balances system,
Yeah, you could see it that way.
making sure no one group has too much power.
Right. But it's clear that the ultimate authority.
Rests with Christ.
Oh, absolutely.
Like they're accountable to him.
Yeah, that's emphasized throughout.
It's not about wielding power.
No?
It's about being guided by something bigger.
It's a very humble approach.
So we've got structure, we've got flexibility,
Mm-hmm.
tradition, and innovation.
It's a delicate balance.
But let's be real. Things don't always go perfectly,
Right.
even with the best of intentions.
And that's one of the things that really impressed me about the basis of union.
Okay.
It's so self-aware.
They acknowledge their limitations
Absolutely. They don't shy away from the complexities
of frame.
and church life.
Yeah, they even say straight up, the church is a human institution.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, it's imperfect.
It's always evolving.
You know, that's actually really reassuring to me.
Oh, yeah.
It makes them feel more relatable. You know, they're not claiming to have all the answers.
No.
They're on a journey, just like everyone else.
It's a powerful message.
Not just for the Uniting Church.
No, for anyone.
Any group trying to live out its values.
In a complex world.
Yeah, it's a reminder that even institutions
Mm-hmm.
with long histories
Yeah.
are meant to be alive.
Living, breathing
They're
with
outstanding.
the needs of the time.
And they even acknowledge
What?
that their laws, like the rules they've set up,
Yeah.
might need to be revised
From time to time.
to better serve the gospel.
It's about staying true to their core purpose.
It's like they're saying we're committed to doing what's right,
Yeah.
even if it means challenging our own assumptions.
It takes courage to admit that.
It really does.
They're saying these laws, they're meant to reflect God's will. Right.
But they're also human creations,
Mm.
subject to interpretation, revision.
So it's not about blindly following rules.
No.
It's about constantly seeking understanding
Yeah,
and living in accordance with the gospel.
absolutely.
And that brings us back to that idea of reconciliation
Oh,
that
yeah.
we talked about earlier.
Mhm.
It's more than just internal harmony.
Within the church.
It's about their engagement with the world
Yeah, they're called to be a force for good.
to make a real difference.
Exactly. Okay, but how?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah, how does this actually play out?
In the real world.
What are some concrete examples?
Well, that's what we'll be unpacking
Okay.
in the next part of our deep dive.
All right, listeners,
Get ready.
we're going to see how the rubber meets the road.
Stay tuned.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about, like, the ideas behind the basis of union.
The theology, the structure,
But how does all this actually play out,
like in the real world.
Yeah, what does it look like in action?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
It's not just some abstract document.
Right.
It really guides how they engage with the world.
Especially when it comes to social justice, right?
Exactly. It's not just an add-on.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, and by the way, we also care about the poor.
No, it's core to who they are.
They're saying faith isn't just about what happens in church.
It's about how you live it out.
In the world.
And remember reconciliation?
Oh, yeah, that was a big thing.
It goes way beyond just internal church unity.
It's about action, right?
Absolutely. Putting it into practice in the community.
So give me some concrete examples.
Like, how do they actually do this?
Yeah, what does it look like?
Well, they've been huge advocates for Indigenous Australians.
Okay, yeah, I remember reading about that.
And they're really active in supporting refugees.
That's a tough issue.
And asylum seekers, too.
So they're not shying away from the hard stuff.
No, they're willing to take a stand.
And they've always been involved in fighting poverty.
And homeless.
Okay, so they're taking those big ideas.
Compassion, justice, unity.
And actually putting them into action.
Exactly. It's not just talk.
They're walking the walk.
And they don't stop there.
Oh, there's more.
They've been really vocal about LGBTQ+ rights.
Okay, yeah, that can be controversial.
And climate action, economic justice.
They're not afraid to rock the boat a little.
They're willing to challenge the status quo.
I was really impressed by that.
Yeah.
This is a church that's not afraid to get its hands dirty.
Yeah, to get involved in the messy realities of the world.
And it's not just about, like, grand pronouncements.
No, they support a whole network of social service agencies.
Like what?
Think homeless shelters, food banks, community centers.
Okay, so they're really on the ground making a difference.
Exactly. It's about meeting people's needs.
It's amazing how this document
Written so long ago.
can still have such an impact.
It's inspiring, isn't it?
It shows that faith isn't just about beliefs.
It's about action, about making the world a better place.
And that brings us back to you, dear listener. We've spent this episode exploring the basis of union
This incredible document.
that shapes the uniting church.
And how they engage with the world.
And as we wrap up, I'm left with a question for you.
Okay.
If you were designing a foundational document,
For your own group, organization,
what values would you put at its heart?
what would guide your actions?
How would you interact with the world?
It's something to ponder, isn't it?
Because words are only as powerful.
As the actions they inspire.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.